I still in 2022 hear from pregnant women about their bosses not understanding or their doctor gaslighting them and saying, oh, it's just normal. What do you expect? I expect to be able to function.
Hey, Smart Chiropractors. Welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show in our featured guest segment. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. And today we have a very special featured guest. We have a chiropractor, an author, an entrepreneur, and an expert in pediatrics and pregnancy, Dr. Brandie Nemchenko. Brandie, thanks for taking some time and chatting with us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It is our pleasure. You're a wealth of information in the pregnancy and pediatric space. We're going to dive deep into that. However, before we get there, what brought on the passion? You're super passionate about that segment of the population and helping them live a high quality of life. What stimulated that passion in pediatrics and pregnancy care for you?
Yeah, so I thought chiropractors were quacks. Before I was a paramedic, I worked in a hospital and something happened with my daughter who's now 24. She had a cast on her leg and the weight of the cast pulled her pelvis out of alignment. So like after they threatened to re-break her leg or shoot up with Botox, somebody said, if you ever tried a chiropractor, I said, you're effing nuts. Like you're nuts. Because I worked for a chiropractor and they were just, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. They were talking about how they like to throw up and it was like their body worked naturally. And I understand that now. And then, so that's what got me into chiropractic. And then when starting practice and getting pregnant and all that kind of stuff, I planned that baby forever. And 17 weeks in, I was a sports chiropractor. And 17 weeks in, I was adjusting a foot and sustained a very horrible injury where they said, you can't see patients anymore. And I had gotten my practice to a stable place because I was seeing 3/4 of the patients. My husband was seeing a quarter. And I didn't expect that, which is the title of my book. I didn't expect with all the planning. I had thought everything, I trusted the ICPA that like you can practice till 34 weeks and they had to give up side posture. So that's what I'm so passionate because I almost lost my house. Because I could, and I'm a control freak with my patients. So I was like, I didn't expect to not be able to work. And so if it's hitting a doctor right in the wallet, and in the mind, why wouldn't it affect somebody that works at Wawa, which is around our area, or who works at a desk job or is a waitress? So it's like, that's why I'm so utterly passionate about this, because I still in 2022 hear from pregnant women about their bosses not understanding or their doctor gaslighting them and saying, oh, it's just normal. What do you expect? I expect to be able to function. So that's why I'm extremely passionate about what I do. And I'm extremely passionate about elevating chiropractic because I feel like we're the best suited to do that in the right way, in the right evidence-based way. So just a lot of passion there, a lot of batshit passion, but it's needed. Women deserve better.
Hey, Doc, the money is in your list. If you're not utilizing weekly email newsletters to drive reactivations into your practice, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. To schedule a demo and see how we help hundreds of docs do this each and every week, go to thesmartchiropractor.com today. Again, that is thesmartchiropractor.com. Schedule a demo with our team. But right now, we'll get back into this awesome interview on Interviews by the Smart Chiropractor.
We completely agree. I'm on your website right now, whatyoudon'texpect.com. You obviously dropped the concept of things happening that you didn't expect, as well as your passion. Let me ask you to keep telling the story. You took your experience and you've written a book, and now it's evolving into a training and online course. Tell us more about kind of how people can learn about what it is that you had in your experience and that you're teaching.
Yeah, so everything unfolds for a reason. And I had been out of my state association for quite a bit of time because of the politics and the BS that happens. And I had been selected to appear on the other side of my state. The guy called me up and he said, he's now the president. He said, can you help me? I'll help anybody. And he said, you have the perfect background. He said, like crazy, stupid love. He's like, you have the perfect background of like, I was a reviewer for 15 years, an Act 6 reviewer. So I have that. I was a board president for 9 years. So I know politics and how to speak to people and how to command an audience. I'm a chiropractor certified with pregnancy and pediatrics. So that really, all these little experiences sort of blended itself together to create who I am today. And during COVID, I had an epiphany, like a Jerry Maguire type thing, no sweats, no sweats in the middle of the night, but it's just like, we could do better, and so I had been teaching chiropractors and patients nationally for years. I could talk to 1,000 people. Like, it's more like a chat. As anybody's ever seen me speak, it's very colloquial, keeping it real. But I'm like, why wouldn't I, instead of just bitching about stuff, why wouldn't I go after and sit down knee to knee with OBs and midwives instead of like blaming them for not knowing that this exists? You guys have heard the blue ocean versus, the red, huge concept. I've had 3 consultants tell me the industry I'm going to is a $1 billion industry, but no one does what I do. My book, no one tells you how to fix this stuff. If you apply, my big thing being in sports medicine before, it's so sexy. I don't know, Jeff, did you do sports medicine? It's just sexy to do sports medicine. A pregnancy in chiropractic is like home births and eating your placenta and crystals. And I was never like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So I took the gritty part of being a paramedic and delivering babies, and I had 2 epidurals and 2 inductions. Like, there's so much stuff that will be into being a blue ocean type person, of creating that down and dirty philosophy I have in practice. Would give somebody as many tools as you can give them, and then they're not dependent on you, and they'll always come back, and they trust you that you're only there. So in writing that book in 2018, I'm like, this is my legacy. Like, besides being a good mom, this is my legacy of like giving, I have like a big sister vibe. So like giving people down and dirty tips on how they can fix it. During COVID, I was like, damn, I'm going to go bigger and I'm going to hit the OB. Like, why can't I talk to OBs? If I can talk to them and I'm friends with them, it took me 13 years to bust into them because they have one of the highest malpractice rates, so that they can't just trust anybody. And that's why it's so important. I just spoke in Pittsburgh for the PCA. It's so important that we ethically treat this. Like, if we say we treat this population, then you better damn know what the emergencies are, what to look for, how to manage this in an evidence-based way, and not talk about vaccines and not talk about the one I just listened to continuing edit. I'm not going to mention the school, but the instructor was saying to go against the OB's recommendation. Like, that's the quickest way to make enemies and to create a problem in your patient's mind that doesn't have to be there. Like, if your patient asks for it, great, but doing it in an unprofessional manner of like just trying to be different, it creates a divide that I'm trying to fix, because there's such an opportunity as chiropractic. Physical therapists cannot adjust. They should not be adjusting as specifically as we do. So it's like, I need chiropractors to understand everything. That's why I created the Bloom philosophy of an approach to approaching pregnant women, that this is theirs. This is not your pregnancy. This is not your dogma. This is not your philosophy. This is their journey. And all you're supposed to do is be a guide and help them get to the finish line. I'm so not into birth. Like, whoa, this is not my thing. I see it as an athletic event that you get them to the finish line, and then they're like ready. They're like strong, and they're ready to go, because it's like an athletic event. So long-winded answer, but that's sort of what led me to those ideas. Yeah.
I love it. And I commend you for leading the way and really showcasing your experience through a book. It's not easy writing a book. I'd love to just have feedback. What was the experience like for you? There's so many docs out there, I feel like, have a little bit of that passion. You have a lot of it. They're interested in writing a book, but don't even know where to start.
Oh, dude, it's painful.
Yeah. How was the process for you?
Yeah, it took 3 years. So it launched in 2018. 6 months was like the emotional part. Like, I can write my husband used to say, I write like people go to the bathroom. It's just like, I can write and write and write and write and write. But the technical part, I had some imposter syndrome where it was like, I care very deeply about not hurting somebody, because I know there's chiropractors that tell you how to do stuff. So once I wrote the technical part of it, I had OBs vet it. I gave it to them and said, what do you think about this? What do you think about what I'm saying here? Are you offended by, not that I'm subjugating myself to them, or it's just like, that's their niche. I have a deep respect for their niche. I know what my niche is. So that took time to wait for them to get back and get their feedback. And they actually wrote in my book, which is awesome. And then to help out, I had other professionals, like a psychologist. Like, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a workout person. Like, I put experts in my book, which helped Jeffrey to like get it done. And then it launched in 2018. And I actually relaunched it and paid I'm a strategic coach, and they have some help in there. It's called 90, I think it's 90-day books or something like that, where they help you organize and structure your book. Because writing the first one was like, oof, it's like so much like note cards and buying software. But I relaunched the book because I realized I hadn't included employment. So I had my employment lawyer write how to protect my patients and their thought process, and for providers. And then I also have a child that came out as non-binary. So I thought I was woke in my book, but gender identity and sexual identity. And then I added on what I talked about my Jerry Maguire thing is I have a really weird sense of humor. I used to be a paramedic, and I developed these villains of pregnancy. So they were like archetypes that women could hate. So there's like Linda low back pain and Sally sciatica and Peggy pubis. So I named them after family members. So I highlighted and organized them by villain so they could get these villains out of town and realize what they're doing to invite them into town and what they could do to get rid of them. So it's just, I just love it so much. But writing a book, I've already written 2 more, one partner book, one 4th trimester book. And my first book is about almost done with a Spanish translation. Books are not a way to make money. They're not. So, but they're a passion project, and they certainly give credence, but you're right, it's a lot of work. So yeah, not done with writing books, but.
Books themselves may not be a great way to make money, but teaching people something they don't know is a wonderful way to make money. You were mentioning that in the next period of time, depending on when this is released, you're going to be launching a membership program. Yep. Tell us more about how you think about, not just to promote your product, but your thinking behind generating money from the knowledge you have. Books are a part of it. It gives you credibility, but you are also releasing a series of, trainings, programs, events, etc. What's your thought process specifically on generating recurring revenue through memberships based on what you've told us so far?
Yeah, so my mind didn't even think that until my daughter was diagnosed with autism. Like, I didn't give a shit about money, honestly, excuse my language, but I really didn't. Money was not, it always came. For both of you, probably just comes with what you're passionate about. But there's such potential with online platforms, with creating webinars, with creating short vignettes. Like, I have one that's like, why does my kitty still hurt? Which is personal, but it's like funny and quirky, but it's like all about pelvic floor. So it's stuff that you can just make these bite-sized videos and then educate the public that they're looking for a niche product that they'll pay $29 for. And I don't know if you guys have that chart. I have a chart in my desk right here that talks about how many memberships you have to sell to make $1 million. It's insane how little you have to sell to get $1 million. But I can tell you, as somebody who blew their disc, that's why I've disappeared off the face of the earth since 2018 when I talked to Jeff. Right after I did a conference, I extruded a disc and lost all use of my arm, like literally lost, thank God for chiropractic and shots. But like being a chiropractor, you have to look at ways to diversify at the same time as scale, right? So just as a lot of people talk about disability insurance and associates, it's much easier to build programs of your expertise that you're on and, passionate about, because it's what's called an evergreen product. Like, once you create it, you're done. Like, I drove out to Pittsburgh 4 hours from here, stayed in a hotel, schlepped stuff around. Like, I could just put that online and you're done. And it sells forever. And the other thing that when I've done the process, if you can't tell, I have severe ADD, but I have a whole drive that is almost like, I see it like choo-choo train pieces. So I'll film the content and then I will pull it off the shelf and use it for different stuff. So once you make it, you set it. I'm very good at making systems. I can't run them to save my life. But even the other idea that I had that I think is going to be awesome is taking my expertise, taking this program with the villains and building in Kajabi a site, right? You build it once, and then what you do is license that site for other, like a healthcare system. Like, I'm friends with my healthcare system. So I would go to the 12 offices, the head of it, and say, hey, how would you like this for your patients? Because if I can empathize with them as a doctor, they only have a certain period of time to stay with them. So I'm picturing in my head, somebody comes in and said, oh my God, my groin is killing me. And instead of saying, oh, it's normal, I'd say, oh my God, there's this amazing program this local doctor came up with. Here's a rack card that talks about Peggy Pubis and her highlight. I really think you should check this out. There's a QR code. They go home. The system has paid me $25,000 that they've vetted that their patients can use for the year for the licensing thing. And then all the OBs are friends, so that they each have one that all I need to do is take a slide deck, rebrand it with their logo, rebrand it with their colors. It's easy. And then I can employ other people on the back end to have jobs. I love making people have jobs. Right now it's really tough, but it gives more opportunity to give other people opportunities in my I call it my empire, but my business, and then the other thing that I'm really good at is writing SOPs. So I have like over 1,000 SOPs. I've branded them. I vetted them. They're on EOS Traction, like that platform, and selling those because nobody has the time to take 3 months to SOP everything in your office. So there's just a lot of things you can do that's reoccurring because I don't know if I'm going to get hurt again. I had 3 episodes of the extruded disc. I was out 18 of 36 months. Got back, got the best shape of life, and shattered my foot in January. So, like, you never know. And I could take that as a sign from the universe, but it's like, okay, I need to make more evergreen products because for me, I've been in it 20 years and I love it. I love being a chiropractor. Like, it's like the icing of the cupcake of my world, but it's a finite thing with my arm because perception is everything in my practice, and walking around like this or like this is not a good look. It's not a good look. So it's like, and I can have a better reach, a bigger reach with what I'm doing with Kajabi or with ClickFunnels or with Active Campaign than I ever could in practice.
Hey, it's Dr. Jason. I just want to take a brief moment and invite you to schedule a demo with our team to learn more about our patient pilot automated email campaigns. They are the smartest way to reactivate the people you've seen over the years in the past. Check it out, schedule a demo. We look forward to helping you help more people and piloting your patients back into your practice. Now back to our show.
It's a great example of, Jason, I call it teach and invite consistently. And you're bringing up great examples of diversifying income streams, as you mentioned. Really, chiropractic is a physical job, right? And that takes its toll as years become decades, and being able to have other areas of opportunity to generate revenue, to impact lives, not only beyond your circle of practice, but without you physically being present, doesn't take away from being present, but it gives you an opportunity to generate revenue. Freedom. When you're not present is so powerful. I love it. I think it's super important. I have a pediatric question for you here. And that is, what's the biggest misnomer in your opinion? You have very distinct and passionate philosophy on how you approach care. So I can't let you go without asking this. What's the biggest misnomer or misconception around pregnancy or pediatric care in our profession?
I'm not going to mention the insurance company. They told me that that's not a comorbidity or something that needs to be taken to. It's just the same as everything else. And I was like, you are smoking crack. But so there's a lot of nuances. I'm the co-chair of the state's pregnancy and pediatrics, and they always lump them together. The only thing that they have in common is that they both have specific things that you need to be careful and know. They have nothing to, just because one causes the other one. They're 2 totally separate niches. And I just think lumping them together is, I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's the way it is. But I think people always just assume if you do the one, you do the other. So 85% of my practice is pregnant, 15% is under 6 months old. So it's 2 totally, and it's just what I choose. It's what I love to do. Do I love kids? Yeah. Do I like the little squishy ones? Yes. Like I just love torticollis and latching issues. And when I appeared in front of that insurance company, the reason they had asked me is they pulled all chiropractic care for kids, like all under 12. And I'm like, guys, like I've been in, we have around here Aspiring Champions, which is like a high-end athletic, like get your kid. All the parents are like, get your kid like superstar at 6. There's so much that needs to be done from a structural perspective that needs chiropractic care. There's kids falling out of bunk beds. There's kids like, if you ever watch America's Funniest Home Videos, you know why kids need chiropractic care. So the misnomer is that in the chiropractic realm, what ticks me off, what hacks me up, like I can quote somebody, is when people use insurance care for organic stuff, drives me insane. Because is chiropractic care effective for ear infections and colic? Does it work? Yeah, it does. Ethically, it works. but you can't charge the insurance company for that because ultimately we're a business and we signed a contract. So when I spoke to the chiropractors, I thought I was going to get egged because I was like, I tell other chiropractors, it's like if your parents pay for college, like you have to listen to if they're paying for college, you have to listen to your parents. When you pay for yourself and do a cash practice, you can do whatever you want. It's a little bit different, but you ruin it for people like me who stick to the rules of musculoskeletal, TMJ, latching issues, sports injuries. It ruins it for us because you're treating colic or irritability or wellness on insurance. It doesn't work. So the other thing that I'm hell bent on is vaccines. And I used to get in fights when I was in school from being a prior paramedic. I just think it's so reckless to talk about in our practice. I think what's smart is to offer options that they may not know about. I mean, the internet exists, but 909 shot is not like promoted on a billboard. But I literally say to them, I'm not going to tell you what I did. So like, what do you do, Dr. Brandie? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what I did because you're going to misconstrue my authority with what to do. And it's one of the hardest conversations, but I've had many doctors say, I refer to you because you don't get involved in stuff that's not yours. It's not my liability if something happens to that kid or if they got it or they did it. And speaking as a parent, it is one of the hardest things. So it's not, I can give options if asked. But I just think that that's one of the things that also steals from I always say, this is why we can't have nice things, because if we have something amazing with what we do, if we stay, it's not shrinking, it's just sticking to what we're really good at. And we could risk losing other things for what we are amazing at. So that's shared between those two populations of talking about that.
Brandie, as we wrap up, thank you for sharing that. I guess I'd like to hear, you're obviously an extremely passionate teacher, and you sort of dropped it a little bit earlier. You know, you never had to really worry for money. It always just sort of comes. And I guess my question is, to whatever degree you can share, the difference between the people that come to see you in your practice because they've learned from you versus what I'll say most chiropractors do, which is think they have to market their practice to sort of get people in and maybe even modify their message to get, those people that are looking for a chiropractor to come to them. What's your take on the difference between teaching people about your expertise and marketing or advertising chiropractic because you need more new patients?
Yeah, I got nauseous about that when you said that. I was like, oh, so it's funny because we have a lot of moms groups and I'll get tagged like 30 times and you'll never see me say, hey, come see me. It just looks desperate. It's like, I believe I had a coach, like it was one of Bill Esteb's friends that when I wasn't doing well in practice when I first started. And I don't even remember the guy's name, but he said, when you are on fire about what you do, everybody will come see you burn. Everybody will watch you burn. If you can't tell, I love what I do and I love my team and I love owning a business. I just, I think connecting to your why, it sounds cheesy, but like I always say to chiropractors and to my patients, I don't look good in stripes. So like, I want to sleep at night knowing that I did the best I could. And it's my philosophy of, I think doctor is teacher, that's our job. And I don't identify, it's not going to be popular, but I don't identify first with being a chiropractor. I just want to help people. If I need to find you a job or I love making people's lives better by what I do. And I think that what we need to be better at is meeting people where they're at and taking them from there. We just redid all of our stuff for our patient journey, a patient journey and an employee journey, because we have multiple offices. And I think meeting people where they're at and inspiring them where they're at, instead of just forcing them into your dogma, is really, you'll learn a lot more from patients if you give them what they want instead of what you want.
That is a perfect place to wrap and exceptionally well said. Brandie, thank you so much for taking time. We're going to drop all of those links down below. So docs listening and watching, number one, rewind and listen again. There was a lot of fantastic information. Number two, be sure to check the episode notes or links down below. We're going to link to all of the areas where you can connect with Dr. Brandie. Brandie, thank you so much. It's been too long. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us. It's been awesome. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys both. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video on The Smart Chiropractor. To not miss a single thing that's clinically oriented, marketing oriented, or more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today.